what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a double review for this one. For this one, I'm going to be taking a look at Altas Fallen, a game I've been trying out lately on the Xbox Series X and S, being played on Series S. Game is also available on the PS5 and PC via Steam. Plus, I want to give my thoughts on Season 1 of the anime Dandadan, or D-A-N-D-A-D-A-N. I don't know how it's spelled or anything like that, which I just finished watching the first season on Hulu. I believe it's also available on Netflix and Crunchyroll as well. And if you're interested in any gameplay footage of me playing Altas Fallen, I'll have a link down in the description down below, or you can click on the card that could appear up on this video. And for parents out there, it's worth pointing out that Altas Fallen is rated T for teen, ages 13 and up by the ESRB rating system, while Dandadan, again, apologize for not saying the name right, is rated TVMA here in the USA though. So we'll start off with the first part of our review, and that will be on Altas Fallen. If there's one thing about Focus Entertainment in terms of a lot of the games they do, a majority of them, or pretty much all of them, have been mainly just AA type of experience though. Not to the same scale as the AAA kind of experience, but just only like AA games. Like I played some like Greedfall and all, and I would say that's not necessarily a bad thing, because AA games can actually be to some extent somewhat better than say some of the AAA games out there. I mean, one example is, at least the one that I can see, is like games like Terminator Resistance or RoboCop Rogue City, which I view those games more on the AA side, but despite that not being a AAA type game, the games still actually proved to be very good. Both of those games did in their own rights. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And so it was kind of interesting when I tried out this game, Altas Fallen, which was released a couple years ago, but I remember seeing it pop up on Game Pass, and I thought I'd give the title a try and all. And after playing the game for a while and all, I will say that this one kind of surprised me a little bit, as this title actually proved to be actually quite fun in my view, and it shows Focus Entertainment really does go all in, let's say, on the whole AA type of experience and all. So I'm going to break it down into the pros and cons for Altas Fallen. So we'll start off with the first one, start off with the pros, and the first one has to do with the combat. I really think the combat is enjoyable and fun. You have basically two types of attack, sort of like a whip type of attack, which is, you know, you could argue it's kind of like something you would see in Castlevania, and like a regular sword or hammer type of attack and everything like that. And in a way, the combat kind of reminds me of, does give off a little bit of a Darksiders vibe to it. I certainly don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that's good. I do enjoy the Darksiders game, so I think it's certainly nice that it gives off that kind of vibe. You basically do have, it is sort of a semi-open world to be exact. I won't say open world on the scale of, let's say, a Bethesda game or Ubisoft game or like Grand Theft Auto, but big enough that there's still plenty of stuff to do in terms of finding hidden secrets here and there, and engaging in, you know, the breaches, which is battling different enemies. And with the combat, you have basically the ability, you know, to dodge and basically, you know, parry, which if you time right, you can freeze the enemy in a little bit and give yourself an opening to attack the enemies or refill your health to a certain extent. You can also upgrade your character with different like power-ups and so forth. And also the fact that the game also has also is in a way kind of a bit of a platformer to a certain extent, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So I think in terms of combat wise, I think the game is definitely good and enjoyable. And last but not least, in terms of how well the game runs on the Xbox Series S, I would say it runs perfectly fine. I mean, I haven't run into many issues. I think the only time I ran into issues was some of the graphical issues. Like at one point, there was sort of an issue with the graphics. I had to, you know, restart the game and all, and then after that it ran, and after that it looked fine. But in terms of frame rate, I've seen the game pretty much run it basically at 60 frames per second. I haven't seen really any issues or any major dips or anything like that. So in terms of performance on the Series S, I think it runs perfectly fine, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing at all and everything like that. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2 of my review of Atlas Fallen. So, take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my video review of, or double review, this one being part 1 of Atlas Fallen. So now that I gave you the pros, why don't we get started with the cons? And with the cons, there are only 2 that I could think of, to be exact though. The first one has to do with basically the visuals in general. And I will say that the visuals in the game don't look bad or anything like that, but I mean, I would say they're okay. They're not the worst looking type of game, but there are definitely better looking games even on the Xbox Series S that I've seen though. Now that doesn't mean that they're bad. I think some of the enemy designs look neat, look fine and everything like that. So it's not a horrible looking game by any stretch though. I mean, there are plenty of games out there, even on the Series S, that would look way worse than Atlas Fallen or anything. So it's not the worst looking type of game, but it's not the best looking at all. And last but not least has to do with the story. And I think the story in general, it's sort of a hit and miss, at least for me though. I think there are some very interesting points in terms of sort of the history of the gauntlet that your main character uses, to some parts where you go through the rift and you see this what looks like kind of like the Avatar, you know, those blue aliens from the Avatar movies, basically. So there are certainly some parts where you learn the history of excuse me, of that creature, and some parts of the world and everything like that. So there are some excuse me, there are some neat parts to it though, but I won't say it's a story that's going to pull you in or anything like that. So to me, the story is kind of a hit and miss. Overall, I will say I am enjoying Atlas Fallen. I do think it is a good AA type of experience of a game. And it's one worth taking a look at, especially if you're a fan of games like Darksiders or even Devil May Cry to a certain extent. At its best though, the combat in the game is fun and enjoyable, and as I mentioned before, it does have a little bit of a Darksiders vibe to it, and the game does run pretty well in the Series S, even at 60 frames per second, so that certainly isn't a bad thing. But at its worst though is the visuals, which isn't the worst looking game, but there are definitely better looking games than Atlas Fallen. And the story, again, it's going to be a hit or miss. There are some parts I like and some parts I didn't like, but in either case, I did enjoy this game. It is a fun action RPG game that I've been playing every now and then on my Xbox Series S and all, and it is worth taking a look at, especially if you're into those AA type of games, indeed though. As far as whether it's worth trying out or not, I mean, last time I checked, I do think, or at least at the recording of this video, it was still on Game Pass. So if you're not sure, try it out on Game Pass and see if it's something that clicks with you or not. But in either case, I did come away very pleased with Atlas Fallen. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to the second part of our video, and that has to do with the anime Dandadan, if I'm saying the name correctly though. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our second part of my double review, and for this one I'm going to be taking a look at the anime Dandadan, if I'm saying the name correctly, that I just finished watching all 12 episodes on Hulu. I believe it's also available on Netflix and Crunchyroll as well. And for parents out there, it's worth pointing out that the show is rated TV-MA here in the US. Now, there are times when there are a couple animes out there that would sort of grab people's attention. Sometimes there are ones that go mainstream, like Sword Art Online, and then there are some that may not go mainstream, but still has a following, or at least grabs attention to a certain degree. And one of those shows I remember back in 2005 was called FLCL, which I think was short for Fooly Cooly. This premiered on Adult Swim, and it was from the same folks, or the same studio that did what's considered by many to be controversial but still considered a classic anime, Neon Genesis Evangelical. And I will admit that show was bizarre to a certain degree and all, but still entertaining nevertheless though. So when I started seeing clips for Dandadan online and all, and then started to see the show start popping up on, my streaming service and all, I decided to take a look at basically the show in general though. And after watching all 12 episodes, at least of season 1, I will say it certainly is bizarre, but still interesting show nevertheless. So I'm going to break it down into what I like and what I didn't like, mixed and not 100% sure though. In terms of what I like, I will say the show definitely has that FLCL vibe to it though, and I certainly don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it's some of the comedy in it and some of the stuff is a little bit over the top, including some of the innuendo jokes that they throw into it, as I think Okuma, if I'm saying his name correctly though, like most of season 1, they're trying to get his quote, his balls back and everything like that, and it's just weird and all. And then of course we see a whole bunch of things from supernatural stuff to aliens, including some aliens out there who want to quote cut off, I think, one of the characters' banana and everything. So it's bizarre, let's just say though, but in a good way, and there are certainly some interesting moments to be exact. I mean, you could argue there are some fan service moments here and there, and that is true, but I wouldn't go as far as calling this one going over the top with the fan service or anything like that. But still, if you enjoyed FLCL, you'll probably enjoy the vibe into this one though. And of course, I do think the art style of the show is nice. It's nice to see some anime shows that do sort of a different art style here and there than the traditional anime style that you normally see with a good amount of anime shows out there and everything like that. I do like some of the designs ranging from Turbo Granny to, I think one of the female characters, grandmother and everything, to basically some of the enemies and so forth though. So some of the art styles in the show is certainly nice and unique in a way. As far as what I didn't like or mixed or not 100% sure about, I will say the only real downside I could think of this would be if you don't like, if the innuendo jokes aren't funny, or you really weren't a fan of FLCL, if I'm saying the name correctly, I apologize for that. Basically, that's kind of how I felt like the humor in the show was, and I enjoyed it, but I can understand it may not appeal to everybody out there, so it really does come down to your preference and taste and all. Overall, I would say I did come away pleased with this one though. I definitely thought it was funny here and there and sort of bizarre to a certain degree, but in a good way though. At its best though, I like the art style and I like the FLCL vibe that the show has, but at its worst, I can understand the FLCL vibe or some of the innuendo jokes may not appeal to everybody out there, but in either case, I did enjoy season 1. I'm very curious to see how season 2 is going to play out and everything, but I will say if you have Crunchyroll or Hulu or Netflix and all, give this show a try though and see if it's something that clicks with you or not though. Okay, this concludes my double review of Atlas Fallen for the Xbox Series S and Dandadan Season 1. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts of Atlas Fallen though? Do you think it is a good game? Do you like some of these AA type of experience that the developers or the publisher Focus Entertainment does and everything like that? Is it something that would click with you in any way? And what are your thoughts about Season 1 of Dandadan? Do you think it's an interesting anime out there? Excuse me. Do you agree with me in terms of the show has a FLCL or Fooly Cooly vibe to it? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And excuse me. And if you like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me, Patreon, or Steam Labs. Links will be in the description of this video, so when you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye.